Hello, everybody. Mike Rasmussen here. Wanted to get with you guys and talk about what we're facing in 2024 a little bit. We're definitely in interesting times. I'm out and about today. I'm in a Barnes and Noble, so I'm doing my gig work stuff to try to bring in income. So it's actually gone really well. I've made about $500 this week. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what we're facing and how it feels right now. I know there's a gauge out there, but I've prepared a presentation for you guys to talk through just some ideas about job search in 2024. What do you do? What kind of steps can you take to be effective? This is just job search strategy in 2024. What's different? What's going on? There's a lot of things that you can do to be effective. So let's talk about that a little bit. So let me dive right in. I'm going to start with from the beginning here and just go bring you guys through. Step one. First step, I really believe, is you should always have 2 to 3 streams of income, and you should be trying to get a side hustle no matter what's going on. Even if times are good, you should try to have a side hustle. I think that's a really good thing. And here's why. I mean, if your primary income stream goes down, you always have a secondary to follow up on. That's why I'm trying to build a YouTube following, because eventually I can monetize. But besides that, I want to help people, and that's really what my channel is all about. But also in the grand scheme of things, you're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to make sure you have enough to help your family. So if there's a way that you have a great skill, monetize that skill. Try to figure out how to get income from it. For me, I think there's a few things. Like, I've learned that freelancing is such an amazing tool, especially when you're in between a couple W-2 jobs. So for example, I'm doing gig work. I do delivery. I love delivery. It keeps me going. So as I say, secure income, make sure you have a couple of options. Look at, ways that you can, maybe you buy some furniture and you flip it online, or you go to a classifieds and you figure out how to make money that way. I mean, there's a whole host of things that you can do. Fiverr, some freelance sites, and for me, Sourcing Owls, and there's another one that I'm joining that have recruiting free, um, that you can bid on roles, or they can find you, and then you can get into a contract scenario, 1099 scenario. Consulting, if you're an HR person, you can consult. If you're a software engineer, you can consult with your projects, things like that. I mean, there's things that you can do that you don't have to rely on other people for. So I apologize if there's people in the back. I had to do this in a place that was away from home so I could be effective. But I want to talk to you guys about that securing that income, getting a second income stream. Dividend stocks. If you invest in dividend stocks, they'll pay you a certain amount per month to own them. So those are just some ideas. Get a secondary income somehow, some way. And it's so easy nowadays. You can do so many different things to freelance and just get out there. If you have video editing skills, use those. Get paid to do that. Small businesses need help. So freelancing is a powerful way to secure that income stream if your primary source of income goes down. Make sure you have a primary source of income as much as you can, but we're in weird days where the economy, people have been laid off. You've all these things that have happened. Secure that secondary income if you can. Get 2 or 3 streams of income if you possibly can do it. Whatever you can do. There's so many ideas out there. Just go out on the open web and look up ideas to secure a secondary income. You'll find a whole bunch of things. Penny Saver is a great tool. Penny Saver has a lot of suggestions for making income, and they have a lot of great suggestions. So that's one example of a source where you could go to find that. So I'm going to go through these quick. I didn't want to stay too long on this, but this is going to be really high level today. So I'm giving you ideas, and I hope it sparks something for you. I hope it gives you some ideas in your career search, in owning your life, in owning where you are in this stage of what's going on in the grand scheme of things. So I hope it helps. Okay, so if you're in a job search, no matter what, I think it's interesting, once you hit a certain amount of time in a role, it may be to your advantage to start kind of putting the feelers out. And you should always be doing things that essentially have your core message at heart. And so really what I'm saying with the core message is, There are some job seekers who are directionless. It's like going to watch Forrest Gump when the little feathers on the wind, it's floating around. There's some people, that's how they live their life. And not having direction, not having a game plan is almost akin to not having a rudder on your boat. You're kind of going where the current takes you. You don't want to do that. You want to know what it is you love and why you love it, and make sure from an early age that you always have that desire to keep going in the direction of your career goals. Some people know what they want. Some people, they'll stick around in a career for a while, but maybe there's a secondary passion that you have. I have a friend who was a chef, and well, day job HR guy, nighttime he's a chef, and wow, he loves that, and it's a secondary source of income, right? It gives him it's another place. So have a couple of different passions where you can monetize, and that's part of knowing your pitch. It's part of knowing your core message. So essentially in your career, you've got to have a central core of why you do what you do. What gets you out of bed every day? What keeps you motivated? For me, I know it's recruiting. I know it's HR. That's where I belong. I know I'm going to land there eventually. I've been really close on a couple of secondary interviews. It's okay though. If you get passed over, don't. I mean, I think another thing that I could have added as a step is check your psychology. Check your, I think it's all a whole spectrum of your career, knowing what you want to do and why, and having a vision for that. I mean, that's such an important thing, to be able to craft your pitch, your resume, and supporting documents, because your core message is what you want to do and why. And from there, it's going to follow. You'll be able to find supporting evidence to do that job from your past work history. And it's great to have what's called a career journal. Have a career journal where you've kept your top accomplishments over the years, and keep that in the forefront. Because if you don't, you're going to struggle. And I've seen a lot of job seekers, unfortunately, very directionless, and that does not help their craft. So when you're crafting a resume, there's several core things I think are important to crafting your pitch, and it should also reflect what they call your 60-second commercial. This is who you are. This is what you have to offer. This is what you have to give. And it's very important that you do that well. So crafting your pitch, your resume, your supporting documents, application documents, your portfolio. If you're a creative professional, you want to have a portfolio. You want to have stuff that backs you up. So I once heard it called a career kit. There was a really amazing HR professional in Silicon Valley when I was early on in my career, and she used to call it a career kit. And it made me think. I was like, wow, so all this stuff that I do becomes this career kit. And I'll admit, I was at ADP for 9 years, and I just was going, I mean, I was progressing in my career. I was succeeding. I was having good things happen. But it came to a point where I knew that I needed to make a couple of steps. And so in 2021, I made the move. I went to get international recruiting for the LDS Church, and that helped my brand. Now I can talk about that in my interviews. Now I can talk about what I learned. I also wanted to learn business development, so I got that under my belt in the past year, and I had a great organization, the Source and Recruit company, that supported that initiative for me. So I think it's important that you craft your brand, that you know who you are, and when you get laid off, it hurts. It's like you have to kind of go to mission control. You have to go, okay, what do I want in the next stage of my career? So at varying support stages of our careers, we have choice points. We have moments where stuff is thrust upon you. And it's been so reactive these last 4 years that I started thinking about this the other day. Crafting your pitch, crafting your message has to be in your soul. It has to be a part of you, and you have to be able to communicate it. And you have to practice with loved ones in your family. Do mock interviews, get with friends who care about you, get with people who can show you, and they'll listen to you, and they'll say, hey, refine this, do that. Practice your pitch, practice those things. And then your resume honestly should support that core message. Now, let me talk about that for a moment. Typical resume will have several, and you can write these down. I didn't include them today, but I'll just tell you what I think a core resume should have that reflects your core message. At the top, you should have your address and, well, at least a phone number and the city you live in. If you don't want to put your whole address, that's okay. You can put your contact. You want to have a phone number and an email address, a professional email address, one that works for you. All those things matter right now. Check for spelling errors, all those basic things that you think about. The next section, you want to maybe put your LinkedIn profile there underneath your identifying information, your contact info. Below that, what role are you going for? Make it simple. Say, just put the title of who you are. Whether it's a recruiter, you could put talent acquisition professional or HR professional, software engineer, whatever. Just put something that reflects that role that you want, that you're going for. Next is a summary of qualifications. I think this is such a key section, and it reflects your core message. 5 to 6 bullets about what you've accomplished and why in your career. Have metrics tied to it. I increased diversity slates in recruiting by 30%, which led to $30 million in savings and increased revenue by X. It's just an example. But have those types of metrics that can talk about what you did and accomplished. Make it about accomplishments. Remember the STAR method in interviewing. Situation, task or time, actions, results. A lot of organizations are going to use that. So craft your pitch, focus on that. Next, education and technical skills below that, supporting the reason why they should hire you, and have that at the top of your resume in the core real estate that shows what your message is all about. Experience section. Next below that, have all the metrics where those things happened, and maybe go back like 3 to 4 jobs minimum, but just have that reflect. If you have a long career, go back just 10 years. And if you want to have a resume that covers your entire career, that's great. You could use that in the interview, but have it be 1 to 2 pages for an application that gets you to the interview. Your whole goal is to get to the interview. That's the key. So that's just a few tips on refining your resume. Education should be at the top, and then experience, and then maybe below that you have some of the volunteer activities you've done. So just a few things. Those are my quick thoughts on resumes and interviews. Now let's go to the next step. A lot of people, if you're a recruiter right now, I have to tell you, I understand your frustration. I understand if you're an HR professional. I understand if you've been laid off recently and you feel very frustrated about the number of applications. So right now, there's been a lot of great people that were let go from brand name companies. That should serve you. If you're a brand name company, man, I'm envious of you. I worked for ADP. That's a brand name company. I had 9 years there. Since that time, I had a couple of organizations that were unique. But I did that on purpose. Like the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints is a faith-based organization. That's where I went. Also went with a Source and Recruit company, smaller company, but a great organization. So, sometimes you got to make those moves to get the experience you need. It's okay. But apply to postings within 24 to 72 hours. Now, here's why. The problem is that once you get past this 72-hour, 3-day window, especially on LinkedIn, if you see a posting on LinkedIn, if you see it on Indeed, Google does a great job of giving you leads. So all of these, you can actually set up an alert and get pinged anytime a role that's within your criteria comes up within 24 to 72 hours. Now, what am I applying for right now? Roles that are in Salt Lake City, that are Salt Lake City based, and roles that are remote. So I have my alerts set up for 24 to 72 hours for remote roles and Salt Lake City based roles, because that's where I live. So just think about that. The 24 to 72 hour window means you're in the window of time where your resume is going to get reviewed. Once you get past that 72 hours, it's just kind of a loose rule that I follow. I don't even bother, because at that point you've got tons and tons of resumes. They may close the role. There's all sorts of things that are going to happen. So 24 to 72 hours, set up the alerts to email, then that's it. Just apply to the ones that come out that same day as much as you can. Give yourself, if you like a job that you see, get on it. Make sure you're doing it. But take that to another level. See if you can get a hold of the CEO. There's a tool, there's a website called Rocket Reach, which I really love. And what I use Rocket Reach for is I will go plug in an organizational email, and I'll say email configuration at this company, Rocket Reach. And then what happens is it pulls it up and it gives me a percentage of likelihood based on their input of how much it is and how likely it is to be accurate and in that email configuration. So I use that and it's actually worked really well for me. But Rocket Reach is one of those tools that can do that. But email configuration tools, you can usually find contact info. Many of these companies will have if you know who the CEO is, or if you can go on LinkedIn, you can look at your first level connections, try to get that. Actually is going into the next step, but try to apply these roles because they're just follow up with those companies, and it goes into the next step. So crafting a target list of companies, check for first LinkedIn connections or second level. I say this because going back to this one, apply to postings within 24 to 72 hours, see who you're connected with at that company, and then ping that person over there. Most people want to help you. If you have a direct connection, LinkedIn will give you their contact info and I'll keep track of it for you. You can go in and you can find their email address or whatever. If you pick up the phone, call them, and you could go something like this. Hey, Mr. Mrs. LinkedIn connection, I'm looking for a new role. I did see that you had something posted at your organization. Would you help me? I would love your help to get my resume to the hiring manager. I don't know who that is. Could you give me a plug? That is huge. That's gonna give you that extra oomph. Do apply like the for the preferences that the company wants, but also follow it up with a contact. Get that first, second level connection. And most people that are in your network will want to help you. Even if they're an acquaintance, most people will be willing to do that. So craft this target list. Let me talk about why that's so important. Every single one of us at some point will come to a point in our careers or even starting out with the target industry that we are in. And for me, it's the HCM industry. So I've created a target list of companies, about 30, a rotating list that are my top companies to work for. Tech companies. I've also got, companies that are remote friendly. I've got the top places to work list from Glassdoor that I use. So those are just a few things that I do to make sure that I can get ahead of the curve. So I keep this rotating list. I'm contacting the CEOs and the top talent acquisition professional at that company, and I'm getting myself to them. Remember, I said that you can use Rocket Reach to figure that out. If you go to LinkedIn, just plug it in and see who that top person may be, just to kind of get a sense, because you're going to find two things. One, the CEO is public, and the talent acquisition professional will likely be on LinkedIn. So you can use those two things to your advantage to get your information around the black hole of the application ATS, which unfortunately, once you get past that 72-hour window that I was talking about earlier, is going to be really, really hard to get noticed. So try to do it within 24 to 72 hours. Time is of the essence when you see a posting. Now, keep in mind, the things that I'm talking about here, this target list of companies is actually going to help you get ahead of the curve before an opening even arrives. If you're on the radar of a hiring manager or a hiring authority before a role opens, your chances increase by tenfold. And I heard a stat the other day, which was pretty scary. 87% of roles are actually filled through the hidden network. That means the people they know. So once that posting goes live, there's a pretty good chance. Now, that doesn't happen in every organization, but there's a pretty good likelihood, pretty high, 75 to 85% of roles that may not get posted. So the ones that are out there posted, they may have had a hard time. And that tells you something about the organization too. So kind of keep an eye on that. Look at Glassdoor, do your research ahead of time, look at the company financials, look at what's going on there, do your homework, get ahead of the curve. That's all very important stuff. So let me go to step 5. Join your professional association and email the leadership, plus go to events. I cannot stress this enough. There may be opportunities that you don't know about, but your professional association is the greatest tool you have. I am a member of several of these. So the other day I attended the Utah SHRM event that was for the Central Utah SHRM chapter. And the reason I went to that is because it gave me the opportunity to sit in front of some of those folks, talk to them, get to know them. I already had an immediate connection with some of them. We had something in common. It was the ability of me to be able to talk to them with say, hey, here's what my career goals are. Can I volunteer? Can I help you? And it was a two-way road. These guys were really awesome, and I made some great contacts. So now I have some folks that I can email on that chapter, and I want to thank them. They were just really fantastic. So State SHRM is also really good. If you're an HR professional or recruiting professional, make sure you're getting in touch with those other organizations. SourceCon, I have to stress, absolutely fantastic. I've met some amazing people there, people that are just absolutely incredible, and they're at the top of their game in the recruiting field. So you got to stay ahead of the curve. I want to get more involved with ATAP. I'm working with HR.com right now on an advisory board that I'm working on. So just these different things can get you ahead of the curve. And this is what I'm doing in my search right now. And hey, I've had like 10 to 15 interviews up to this point, been a runner up on a few, means I'm heading in the right direction. Take a game from my playbook, try it, see if this works for you. By the way, there's a one-stop, if you type this in Google, one-stop, the one-stop, I'm trying to remember the name of it, the Department of Labor's one-stop career association finder. That's go look that up, and there's a tool, and you can actually type it in, and it'll help you locate your professional association. And maybe there's ones that you haven't thought of. I will add that to the link in the comments when this is done by tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. Step 6, at your target companies, email the CEO or top leader in your discipline, even if no openings. I think I kind of alluded to this earlier. Again, that's so important because you're actually getting ahead of the curve. They'll remember you. See if they're open to an informational interview. Find a peer for your level in the company to give you insights into that company. That's going to help you a ton. And that's why it's such a great thing to do. This gives you some things that can get you ahead of the curve as well. So this is, again, job search strategy for 2024. Some of these things are they may seem basic to you, but it may seem like common sense, but these are things you should be doing, and they'll help you to be successful. Really, I honestly believe that. So next one, step 7, as interviews come in, start practicing your pitch. This is your core message, reflect in resume and LI. Going back to step 2, if I go all the way back, it's coming back to this step, which is kind of like the foundation. Think of it like a house. In a house, you've got your foundation, you've got your walls, you've got, core construction that holds things up. The problem is that most people will start without an organized approach to their job search. By the way, create a spreadsheet. Keep track of the places that you're applying to and how quickly they get back to you. Sometimes on LinkedIn, that's very difficult. If you're applying from your mobile phone, like me, you may have to go back and track it later. But here's the thing. Your email is going to show you those places where you applied. Do put it in a spreadsheet. Do follow up with those folks. Make sure you're keeping an eye on these things. All these things are so important to you to get where you're trying to go. So, this is your core message, knowing what you want to do, and then letting your resume, use your resume as the means to tell your story, right? So you want what you say in the interview to reflect what's on your resume. So keep those stats, know that career kit. That's why you should always be keeping a career journal. It's a powerful tool. It will help you in these interviews and get you ahead. So if you're not doing it, start. That's a great thing to do, is start to get in the habit of those things. Now, as you start knowing and getting more comfortable, as you're practice your pitch with someone who cares about you, someone who loves you, someone who sees the value of who you are. This could be a significant other, a family member who cares about you, a mentor, someone in your network who really understands the big picture of your career and where you've been and what you've done. Could be an old manager. For me, there is a person that I go to that I try to reach out to every now and then. Her name is Mila Edelman. Absolutely amazing human being. She was my old manager at AEP. To this day, I try to stay in touch with her, and when I need some insights, I'll call her, and she always gives me insights that I need as a professional. So you got to have those mentors in your career, someone that cares about you. I also go to my spouse. I talk to my wife about these things, and people that know you and have worked with you and understand you. There's a lot of people that want to surround you and help you. Do not do this job search alone. That is the number one message I could get across to you today. Go on LinkedIn, put out that you're looking. Your network is so vast. You've probably met tons and tons of people over your career. Now, if you're just getting started and you're an early career person, that's okay. You want to get a hold of your alumni group. You want to get a hold of people that know you. This is applicable to you as well. I'm going to go look at some of my San Jose State alumni and start reaching out to some of my friends that I knew in college to help me with my job search. I'm about to do that. And I know there's going to be people that will pick up the phone for me that may have a lead. You are always 2 degrees of separation away from someone who can change your life. You remember that, you're golden. Keep fighting, keep going. That's because there are people who care about you. Step number 8, as you progress in interviews, ensure to ask key questions, timeline, and follow-up. This is very important because as you start to progress, you'll start to notice that there's a lot of different things that are going to come. It gets more you might go into the second or third round of interview. Once you get to that point, you're going to want to do thank you notes, follow-ups. You're going to ask for your timeline. You want to make sure you're on top of that. Many of these organizations recently cut their talent acquisition teams. They're bare bones right now, which means your follow-up in the interview and job search process is probably going to be even more critical because the follow-up and a phone call and assertiveness, professional assertiveness is what I call it. It doesn't mean sitting back waiting for them to come to you. You ask them what is an appropriate timeline for follow-up. And then if they say you can follow up in this time, you do it. You do it within that timetable. It shows interest. It shows tenacity. It shows your desire for that job. And it's professional. If you keep your word when you ask when you should follow up and you do follow up within that timetable, most organizations will appreciate that. And it's a very powerful thing. Final tip. Once one offer comes in, do not accept immediately. Let me tell you why. Right now, it's going to be an interesting thing getting to one offer. Now, I think the average is, it depends on your industry. Like right now in recruiting and talent acquisition, it's probably going to be a little harder. There's a lot more competition. A lot of recruiters were laid off by tech companies. So a lot more recruiters on the market than there were. However, the job market has still got a lot going on, and it will in 2024. There's going to be a need for hiring. Be assertive and keep talking about this stuff. When you get an offer, make sure you negotiate, wait, give them a proper timetable. Say, hey, we'll follow up with you in a week. Give yourself a week. If you have multiple interviews going on, see how some of those processes end. Tell them that you might have another offer coming. Again, when the offer comes out, the best thing you can do in that situation is negotiate with tact. In other words, if you got an organization that's really pushing you to accept that offer right away, the best thing you can do is ask for a little more time. And here's why. Every organization should respect your desire for more time. And you'll need that. It's an okay thing. It's not a bad thing. You need to have time. And when you have time, you might get 2 or 3 offers, multiple offer scenario. A multiple offer scenario is the best position for negotiation, period. Because then you have another offer to compare and contrast to. You can talk to the other employer and see where they're at. And once all of these things materialize, professionally, make sure that you give them the timetable when you will accept and give them an answer by and stick to it. Now, as you do that, these other offers may come in. And if you have 2 or 3 offers in hand, you can tell the other organization that. And you can say, hey, here's what they're offering. What do you think? And then just have a candid conversation and say, you can negotiate on other things. If they won't budge on salary, see if they'll budge on remote work. See if they'll give you an extra vacation day or two, whatever. You might have some negotiation power in that step. So again, I hope this was helpful. This is just a quick overview of I don't have a lot of, sharing my screen, looking at all sorts of different things. I just wanted to kind of talk to how I would approach a job search in 2024 and what I'm doing, which is getting interviews, which is getting activity, but you need to be smart about it. Um, the number one thing that causes job seeker fatigue is the ones who go to the opening, they apply, and then they don't hear back. That causes job seeker fatigue. Now, if you're a talent acquisition professional, let me talk to you for a minute. I hope and pray that you'll get back to your candidates. Don't leave them hanging. The best thing you can do is when you have a sincere candidate, if they're a runner up, please tell them that they did well in the interview. It's very important to your candidates to hear that. Feedback is a gift. It's a powerful thing, and we need the human element more than ever. With that, Mike from Where's Your Next, I hope this was helpful to you today. Thanks for joining me on this live stream. Just a few quick tips. I hope they're helpful. I have more content like this. If it's useful for you, please leave a comment. Maybe there's another topic you want me to talk about. I will do so. We're going to have other people on the vlogcast and on the show that will come and talk to us. And I think it'll be really good. Some good stuff coming. We've got some really great guests. This Friday, I've got Steve Levy and Joseph Arrington joining me and Robert Merrill. And that will be a great conversation. We'll be talking about entrepreneurship, about how to own your career, a number of other topics. It'll just be an open-ended conversation. We'll just see where it goes. But from me to you, from Where's Your Next, Mike out. I'm going to land, and so will you. If you're looking, keep your head up. These are interesting times. It is a challenge. Do not be afraid of where you're at. It's just a unique time with everything going on. Since COVID-19, things have been a little crazy. Organizations a little more active. We in our careers have been more active. It's okay. It's just the human nature of the elements of things that have been outside of our control. So don't let it get you down. Keep your head up. Keep going. Do like I'm doing. I'm out hustling today, doing deliveries in the gig economy, making my money. I made about $75 today. Yesterday, I made 278. Remember, you are the CEO of your own life, and I believe in you. Where's Your Next is a really powerful thing, and I believe in that concept that you got to be 2 steps ahead of the curve, and that's what Where's Your Next is all about. From me to you, Mike out. Thanks for joining.